How about a team that's not favored to make the playoffs that will? Let's start with you, Jordan.
I have the Seahawks here.
Okay.
I think the NFC West is going to be spicier than maybe people are looking at first glance, just because of how dismal the Cardinals were for much of last year. We've already talked ad nauseum about how they turned it on offensively in the back half. I think the Seahawks are gonna take a second to get their defense figured out under this new scheme, the language of the new scheme. Although Mike McDonald, his teaching tools, his teaching progression, you hear people rave about it inside coaching circles across the league, and everybody he's worked with just raves about how year one you can start to see it come together. Year two is when you really start to see this thing take off and players understand where they're supposed to be. I think that this offense is going to be really fun. I think that the combination of Ryan Grubb, who was doing a lot of things that marry very well in NFL world, less so even in a collegiate world, because he's not necessarily exploiting the different hash marks in college. Instead, he's using his motions and shifts as it would adhere to an NFL field, and he's changing formations. All of his top receivers, which, by the way, the Seahawks have 3 very good receivers. All of those guys, the concept, like the concepts, you can see like the philosophy behind what they might try to do. And they also brought a former Rams pass game coordinator, Jake Peetz, up to Ryan Grubb's staff to talk about the little intricacies like spacing, like how to spring people out of different concepts and give them space in the second and third levels of the field out of those cut splits by moving like 1 inch to the left.
Let's go.
And I think that that's something that's really, really significant. If this offensive line can block anybody this year, which is always a question with this team, I do think that this is going to be a really fun year to watch for the Seahawks. I think they're going to be frisky, really, really tough out, especially down the back half. And Geno Smith's a great quarterback.
There it is, Greg.
There it is.
Are you
you said it all for me. They're my pick too. I think the coaching is so key, and we're taking a leap of faith, certainly, on both sides of the ball, but especially on offense, where you need Grubb and their scheme to make the offensive line passable. It doesn't need to be great, but it needs to be not league worst. Like PFF ranked just pure offensive line talent, and they had him 32nd, and that's a problem. And they played like that last year, and it's why Geno Smith struggled so much on third down and in long-distance situations, because otherwise, I think they're going to be a very difficult team to prepare for. I do think new coaching staffs sometimes have an advantage that way. I think it's just such a great division. But, yeah, if you look at just the players, just, like, think of players and coaches that could win awards or, like, make a Pro Bowl team on that team. Yeah. Witherspoon. I think Reek Willen can be a Pro Bowler.
Yep.
Byron Murphy, I think, could be, like, a Defensive Rookie of the Year. DK, Geno, Ken Walker. It's like they have guys, and I think the defensive line is actually a lot of fun.
Yes.
I know it's not superstars, but once Nuosa's back, and it sounds like he's not going to be out long, you got him, you got Leonard Williams, you got Draymond Jones. Like, you have a lot to work with there. And, yeah, I'm going with them to win the division. I don't give, let's go.
I am, I've been high on Seattle the whole time. I'm like, why aren't we talking about the Seattle Seahawks? Because you look at McDonald, where he's coming from. You talked about all that front seven talent that they have on defense. That's where Baltimore, where he came from, makes its money. And now he's got a stud. I've talked to people up there. I mean, what they're going to do with Devin Witherspoon is very similar from the corner what the Ravens did with Kyle Hamilton at the safety spot. Mm-hmm. Look, this guy's going to be in contention for Defensive Player of the Year.
Woo.
Yeah, I'm calling that shot right now, and I'm with you offensively. Geno's going to be fine. If this offensive line can do anything in that run game, which they got 2 stud running backs, telling you, man, Seattle's going to be a pain.
Did you put him in the playoffs, Kagan?
I did.
Oh,
good,
man.
smart
I don't
man.
like all this
boring.
agreement. I don't want to be,
Well, we did this. We planned this on purpose so you'd have to pick against them.
No, I will not pick against them. I mean, we got our picks out there. It's online. All right, give me a team. Do you have another one that's not favored to the playoffs?
Say, the Cardinals are going to be interesting.
Yep.
I think
make the playoffs?
Not to make the playoffs, but I
Okay.
think they'll be competitive and maybe in the wild card race. I'm worried
Okay.
about their defense. That's really what's holding me back. But I mean, a full year of Kyler with Drew Petzing as the coordinator. You got Marvin Harrison. You got Trey McBride. Like, I'm excited for
Paris
see what that
Johnson,
offense
tackle.
goes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, let's
Harris
talk best
Johnson,
division race
love
then,
that.
because my answer is NFC West, and to me, this is just from a dorky matchup perspective. It's the coaches, it's the players. Every one of these matchups is compelling to me because also it's one of the few divisions where there's 4 good quarterbacks, 4 really good quarterbacks. So that helps a lot. It's always going to make it more watchable. So I'm going around the room for best division race, but to me, these are all blockbuster box office, because to me, even if the Cardinals don't win a ton of games, I'm not as high on you like them taking a big step in the win column. Like, they're going to be fun to watch.
I think that the history is getting really juicy between all of the coaches in this division versus just 2 of them.
Yeah.
I think that this is going to be really, really interesting. Some of the game planning, they're starting finally. It's always been sort of Sean and Kyle, but then not even really Sean and Kyle in hiring off of each other's staffs. They're starting to hire off of each other's staffs a little bit, which you only saw that a couple years removed out of any one Kyle staff or Sean staff. It would be Rams 49ers. Now you're starting to see them sort of pluck each other's staff a little bit, start sort of trying to get each other's ideas in the building. I think just on a coaching level, I mean, quarterbacks.
It's a little incestuous what's going on. I even noticed how
she's talking about the second edition of her.
Right, Playmakers too.
Coming in 2026.
It's personal. Yeah, I liked how the Rams, claimed the 49ers running back / return guys. Like, I see what
you saw it when Seahawks preseason game. Use a couple of the run concepts, man. Go back and watch some 2023 Rams film. It's very, very interesting.
Anyone? I feel like the Rams are a team a lot of people steal from. Same thing with the 49ers, like around the whole league, not even just.
Well, it's because all the coaches are everywhere. Yeah. They're running kind of the same stuff.
Anyone have a different division?
I do.
Like the best race.
I do. When you talk about the most competitive, and it's because it's mediocrity. It's the NFC South.
Okay.
You've got 3. Look. You've got 3 defensive coaches. Right, you have 3 defensive coaches down. It's probably the only division in the NFL where you have 3 defensive head coaches. You've got the one offensive head coach is hot stuff going to Carolina, where they're going to be better. I mean, they're not going to be a 2-win team. They're going to be better. I just think it's going to be like it's been. 8 and 9 might be the best you get. So when you talk about the best overall race, I think it's going to be those 4 teams kind of stumbling over each other.
But that's just ugly football. I don't.
I love it.
It might be
I love
competitive.
That wasn't the question, man. That was not the question.
It's true, and I like a good ugly division.
Best division race, right? Not the most competitive.
Well,
I misinterpret that.
No, I think there's room for interpretation however you want it.
Right.
Like, I am totally down with a season when the Panthers, when they were 4-10 with Ron Rivera, and then they won 3 straight to make the playoffs or something like that. It's like, I'm fine with some ugly. Give me mess. I'm with you. I like it.
I got NFC North.
Okay.
I like that. I almost went there.
I honestly think that the Packers and the Lions might be the 2 best teams in the conference this year.
Wow.
That at the top.
I like that.
And I also think I'm really high on the Bears this year. I mean, I think over the second half of last season, after they traded Montez Sweat, arguably a top 5 defense. They've retained
top run
everyone.
defense in the NFL.
Yeah, sick run defense. Eberflus, he figured it out near the end. And I think from an offensive perspective, you get Odunze, you get Keenan Allen as the 3rd wide receiver. That's a great place for him to be in this part in his career. And I think Caleb is really set up to hit the ground running.